path that you speak about of Swami Vivekananda, the path that so many of our saints, I mean, you've listed a whole bunch of them, but so many have given. This path of service, well, that's what we call karma yoga. Yoga's union with God. Karma's action. Karma yoga is union with God through action. What action? Well, certainly it's not just sitting here giving myself, a manicure. Not the easiest way to God. Not just, going out shopping so that I can have more clothes and, feel more beautiful because last year's styles are out. But service, as you said so beautifully, of mankind. Because serving mankind is serving God. Puja Swamiji always says, Manas Seva is Madhav Seva. Seva of people is seva of God. Service of humanity is service of God. The creation, whether it's mankind, womankind, humankind, or nature kind, animal kind, tree kind, rivers kind, mountain kind, all of the creation is divine. That is, by the way, the path of renunciation. The path of sannyas does not say don't act. It is not a renunciation of action. That is not the vows that get taken. It is not about, just you go to the guru and you sit in a cave and you meditate. Now, I'm sure there may be some lineages where that's what they do, but that is not the actual principle. And for example, here, Puja Swamiji's teachings are all about service. If you're not serving properly, his answer is, and this is where the two overlap so deeply and beautifully, his answer is, there is a problem in your meditation. Because when meditation is done right and happens right, the most automatic byproduct of that is service. When I experience the presence of God in me in a deep and real way, I open my eyes and I see God before me. And if I don't stand up from my meditation excited to be a tool in God's hands, if I don't stand up asking, what now, what now? Puja Swamiji says there's a problem with your meditation. So they absolutely overlap. The dilemma is if you simply have service without the meditation, it's very difficult to free yourself of the ego. Now, we have had many leaders in our nation, and there have been many leaders in the rest of the world, who were not by any means renunciants. So Gandhiji was a householder. Martin Luther King was a householder. There's many, many, many examples. That doesn't matter. They don't need to renounce the relationship with the family in order to be that enlightened, awakened, pure vessel of service of the divine. Their connection to God, their meditative practices, was that which brought them to that height of both awakening, enlightenment, and therefore the ability to serve. You don't create that type of change in the world unless you are a clear vessel for God, And so if we don't have a spiritual practice, the problem is then our ego gets in. Then it becomes all about me and mine and whose name and who's doing what and blah, 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 that whole nonsense. And that keeps you from really serving anybody. And so this is where that essential aspect of renunciation is. If I'm working only to make lots of extra money for my immediate family or for my personal needs, so I can have shopping therapy, for example, or just my kids separate from the kids of the world, I'm not going to be able to be a pure vessel for God's will. Because I'm going to be very focused on how much is coming back in my pocket. It's not going to be about God's will, it's going to be about my will. How do I get the most so I can have the most? That needs to be renounced. But that can be renounced even living in a family. It can be renounced wearing orange, wearing white, going naked, wearing jeans and a t-shirt, or anything in between. Putting on a certain color does not, tragically, grant instant enlightenment. It would be very nice if it did. It's about the color of your heart. And so all of these leaders you've named, and so many others, are the saints of our nation. Whether they wore orange, whether they wore white, whether they wore pants and shirts or suits and ties or whatever they wore. They were the saints of this nation. And every one of them had renounced. They had renounced their egos. They had renounced their own attachments to their vision, their small agenda, in service. Not of just certain aspects of humankind, but of humankind because of their love of God. Every one of those people was a deeply spiritual person. Every one of them did the work that they did because it was their spiritual calling. And so the two paths, meditation, renunciation, and service, there is no distinction. They're not even two paths. They're different aspects of the same path. Now, for some, the renunciation may also include a renunciation of family into celibacy. For some, it may not. But the core renunciation is the renunciation of the ego, the renunciation of the attachment, the renunciation of the us versus them, the me, mine-ness. The renunciation of what's in it for me, where's my name. That's what needs to be renounced for us to actually be in service of anyone. Certainly to be a saint of the nation or the world.